Hey everyone, I'm Mickey McCarter with Park Life DC, and I'm about to chat with Steve Petix, an old friend who is half of DC synthpop duo Technophobia. Technophobia have a new album out on December 4, and it's called Some of Us Are Looking at the Stars, taken from a quote by Oscar Wilde. Technophobia are also playing a live show at Black Cat on Saturday, December 5 at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can watch that show for free on Twitch at twitch.tv/technophobia music. The show will raise money for Community of Hope, a DC nonprofit dedicated to healthcare and housing assistance. Let's talk to Steve for more info. It's great to see you, and I'm wondering what you've been doing during lockdown, Steve.
Oh man, it's been a crazy year. You know, just like anyone else, we had to really adjust our whole scheme for this year, how we wanted it to turn out. And here's my cat. Hey, buddy. One of them. And, unfortunately, the one thing that was really keeping me sane was I was going on every day. I'd be going on like a long bike ride, like a 2 hour plus bike ride. I did this loop into DC, down by the water, down by Haynes Point, came back. And about a month and a half ago, I got hit by a car,
Oh man.
which was a bummer. But I'm on the mend. I mean, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. But yeah, I mean that's been something that has really helped out, the bike ride, the getting out sort of thing. And Katie and I have really just been locked down. We don't play with COVID. Like over the summer when I saw, there was a lot of conflicting information and people seemed to feel like it was ebbing, and I was just like, we're gonna stay the way we are. And luckily Katie's on the same boat with me. But as far
Yeah.
as being a creative and stuff, like during COVID, it's kind of interesting because I've talked to a lot of my friends about it, and it's been hard. It's been really difficult to be creative in this, I feel, because so much effort and time goes into, you know, self-care, right? Like stuff that will make you stay positive and like keeping healthy mentally and physically and stuff. And it's like that's that takes up a lot of time. And it ended up me not having, like, I was kind of depleted, when it came to like creative things. But that turned around, and we've been focusing on our album release and this release party we're doing, and yeah, we're excited about it.
I've heard a lot from other musicians as well that, COVID hasn't been good for creativity. So I completely understand where you're coming from. But, with the new album, let's talk about that a little bit. Did you record or write any of it during lockdown, or, how did
Yeah,
that process work?
it was essentially we had a whole plan for this year, right? Very ambitious plan for 2020. So it was done, I think, like beginning of the year. We were done like with the mixes, and we were just gonna send it, we were gonna, into February we were gonna start, we were looking for a place to master it, and all, and starting the rollout of it. And just the world stopped. You know what I mean? We had a big US tour booked for September and October that just went away. We were supposed to play Wave Goth Treffen in Europe. But, I don't really want to focus on the negatives so much, but like at the album, so it was pretty much done. The album took us a long time to write and record, just because we really had a focus for this album that we wanted to like approach it drastically different than we did our previous record. And so yeah, so it was done come 2021. It was done. But once once COVID hit, the place we were going to get mastered at closed down for like the first time in like 80 years or something like that.
Wow.
And we were just like, okay, so now what do we do? And honestly, like in a way, it was a blessing. I gotta be honest. Like in a way, we're very like, thankful for it because it allowed us to like take a step back, take a breath, and be like, okay, these are the new parameters, right, that we can't control, the COVID thing. So let's just do this the way we want to do it and not worry about any of that. Not worry about what you're supposed to be doing. So it allowed us to work with like Nick Fancher for the artwork. Nick is crazy talented artist that we came across and just connected with. He's out of Columbus, Ohio. I mean, he's I don't know, I'm gonna name drop, but he does stuff with a lot of people, and he's a true artist. Like it's really cool. Like all the photos that we've used, all those effects were done in camera. Like it's not Photoshop. It's like it's done like live. Like he's got projections and color flashes and all this stuff. So like, yeah, he is just amazing. But that wouldn't have happened, you know.
I saw the pictures on his website, and I just have to say, like the colors were fantastic, right? Like lots of colors.
That's all in the camera. Like he's moving around, and he's got these like color flashes, or he's got color things going off and on. And then he does a lot of things with like he's written books about this, so he's really open about his process. Like he wants to teach, you know, he wants people to, you know, he's real transparent about his process. But he does a lot of things with like slow shutter, so then he moves it, and that's how you get a lot of those like those color swatches and stuff. It's really cool to watch him work. But that wouldn't have happened if COVID wouldn't have happened. We took a lot longer with the physical production of the product, like of the record, of the, you know, we worked with our friend Gina, who was a graphic designer, to just like make sure that like all the files and like all the layouts were really perfect. And so, I mean, you know, in a way, like it slowed us down in a positive way. So I'm okay with that, you know. And I'm glad that it's gonna come out. Like that's what we had kind of like a slow rollout, like a 2-month rollout with 3 singles and then the album, which we're excited about. Did a couple videos, and then we're gonna do this release party. So,
well, let's talk about a little bit about 4 years ago. You put out Flicker Out. That was the debut album. Now you have the new album. Some of Us Are Looking at the Stars.
correct.
And you hinted a little bit that you wanted them to be different, and they are different. It seems to me like you were more interested in sampling on the first album, and the new album seems to be much more direct. Am I onto something there? Can you tell me a little bit about what went through your heads?
It was a totally different approach. Oh, by the way, just to clarify for everybody, my little cough is I always get fall-time allergies. So I don't have the COVID. We've been tested. We got flu shots and stuff. It's just every year I get these, but I just want to clarify that so no one's concerned.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah. But so like the first album, I had a very specific focus sonically, and we kept it that way. So like it was like, you know, everything was very cohesive in terms of like sonically, I feel like. And we also like wrote these songs over some time, so they were kind of road tested. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these we wrote as we're going in the studio, or like even worked on in the studios, and they, you know, with production they kind of came out a little differently. And it was, you know, with working with our producer and stuff, like, you know, they got morphed a little different. So it was really different approach. Like the last time I was like, okay, no, I want everything to be very cohesive and like have this palette of sounds. And with this one, I was like, I'm throwing it out the window. I want to do whatever I want to do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then figure out, like, some of these, like, we never played live. You know, most of these actually, we've never played live. So like we had, after the fact, we had to kind of figure that out, which is fun. But so that was, you know, recording is not my favorite thing. And I feel like for a lot of musicians, some musicians love the studio and others hate it. And, you know, I've heard so many stories about like epic albums and stuff where there's like, everyone hated recording this album or something like that. Like, so this was challenging for us, this record, just because of the time constraint and like the way we were doing it. You know, it's kind of, it's a lot of pressure to feel comfortable with what you're doing. when you're developing it as you go. You know, I feel for bands that like write things in the studio because it's like, yeah, it's rough. But anyways, um, so yeah, it was a very different approach in that respect, and I didn't put any parameters on it. So like, if I wanted to have a piano part, I'd have a piano part. If I wanted to have, you know, a beat that was totally different, totally outside the realm of, you know, EBM or whatever, we're not really any of that, really. I don't feel like, but you know, we just did what felt good. You know, I'm not really nostalgic with music and things I write. So if I write something and Katie's not into it, I just chuck it. You know what I mean? Like I don't believe in that. Like, you know, you work something to death to make it work. Like either you're into it or you're not. And you know, I'll write something better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we wrote probably like 15 songs and whittled it down to 10. You know, just things that weren't working out or just we just weren't feeling, and we just moved on from there. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited about it because I feel like it's kind of an evolution of our sound while still being our sound. I feel like Katie went to some new places. I think the most important thing with this album is, you know, the first album was about a concept, right? And this album is a lot more personal, like
Hmm.
in context and songs and everything. Like it's a much more personal record, and I feel like it's much more intuitively us. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. You know, more from the heart rather than, you know, thinking too much about it, maybe.
Yeah, things that we really care about, like in terms of, instead of like being like about general concepts of things, it's about personal, really personal things, like people we've come across or things that we've seen or like things that have affected us, or you know, the way we are and the way we feel about things. So it's like, you know, I feel strong about that.
Great. So the album comes out Friday.
Yeah,
Um,
finally.
you're playing a show at the Black Cat on Saturday.
Yep, we're live streaming on Saturday, which is exciting. We, you know, we did one of our DJ nights there for Halloween, and I got to tell you, it's surreal being back in that place. And it's, you know, we recorded a set for the Black Cat anniversary party there,
Hmm.
and it was like, you know, it was really quick, like because we only did 2 songs, so we are like in and out, and it was one of those things where we were just like, man, that felt so good. And it was like, but it was also like such a tease because it's like, you know, that's it. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna be doing that often, you know.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited to get back in there. Like, you know, you know how I feel about Black Cat. Love
Yeah.
that. Love those people, love that place. It's like my, you know, extended family, those people in that place. So it's like,
It'll be emotional to be there. I
yeah,
mean, playing to
yeah,
nobody at the moment, live, right?
yeah. It's like, you know, I mean, the one thing that people I have to realize, I want to talk to everybody who's not a musician, is that doing live streams and stuff is a lot of effort. It's like, and it all has to be unique stuff, right? So it's like, you know, we'll get people will reach out to us and be like, hey, can you send us a 30-minute set? Like, am I just gonna pull this out of somewhere, like out of the air, like so like, we have to be very selective about it, you know. Like we're playing the Luna Negra Festival, which would be cool. It's a virtual festival out of California. I believe it's the 19th and 20th of December, which would be cool. So we we're gonna record a set for them. But yeah, I mean it's it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do these live. I would much rather just play shows or DJ somewhere than do this live stream stuff. It's just exhausting. But it's so good to be it'd be so good to be back in the Black Cat and around friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. You know, when you're playing live, I want to ask you a little bit about like your equipment. Like, you know, live streaming itself is a whole nother thing, but like when you have a live concert, like what are you using? What are we looking at as far as like your gear and your synths go? Like, and is it different when you record? Do you use any different instruments when you make the album versus when you play live?
Um, we're a little different, and this album is a little different because in the past, like you know, everything we do is live. Even if it's MIDI, it's a live synth being triggered and playing, and like so that has been a detriment. It's been a blessing and a curse for us, right? Because, you know, when you have a lot of gear, we're not the hop on the plane band, right? So we learned from our last album that we missed out on a lot of stuff because I just was so rigid with the way we were doing things, and like it doesn't make a difference. Don't get me wrong. Like live instruments, live, like the sound is big, and you can, but there is a middle ground. When we did our Tiny Cat Music Festival, I paid attention. You know what I mean? I saw what people were doing, and none of those people phoned it in. You know what I mean? But a lot of them had truncated rigs. So we're doing that for this album too. So we'll have, the bass and a lot of the synth lines are my Sequential Circuits Pro 1, which that thing is just a beast. It even took a dive when we played with KVB last year. Like my stand just failed me, and it took a dive, and it was just like, yeah, it's fine. It's no problem. But we usually have vintage analog gear, like the three main synths, especially on this album. There's the Pro 1, the Sequential Circuits Pro 1. There's Dreadbox Nix, which is just a beast. This company out of Greece that makes just amazing analog synthesizers. And then my Korg Poly 6, which is like a vintage synth. But once again, like and I have there are a lot of things on the album that won't be like necessarily played live, but might be, an extra track here and there or something like that. But it's not it's not like play the track and sing over it. It's like a lot of it is a lot of it's triggered, a lot of it's played live, and a lot of it's just midied,
Right.
A lot of I have a rack that I put together, and it houses my MPC 1000, and we have 2 effects units, the delay and reverb, and then a mixer, and then inner ear monitoring system for Katie, because you can't show up somewhere and take an hour to set up. My whole thing was like, we always talk like, I can't set up in 5 to 10 minutes, then we're doing something wrong. You know what I mean? So like, we always try to be that, not only for courtesy, but you can't troubleshoot shit on stage in the dark. People are talking in the crowd. You just can't do it. You can't do it. So and I've seen people do it, and it's just like, it makes my heart hurt. I never forget. I'm not gonna say who it was, but I was at DC9 and I saw this band who was touring with a bigger band, and the main guy was playing keyboards, right? And he literally did this after they did playing. He grabbed the ends of all those cords and just went and shoved them in a like milk crate, and my heart was just like, oh, because when you do this shit like that, eventually one of those cables is gonna fail you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then you're just gonna be screwed. So it's like, we are very meticulous about our live setup. I have a box. It's just a bin with 3 different bins inside. It has backup cables of everything, backup power supplies, like for when we go on tour and stuff, backup microphone, like everything. There's not a thing that can happen that I don't have a backup for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to, because where am I going to buy some wacky cable in Iowa or somewhere? You know what I mean? Or anywhere, even in DC. Like, where am I going to find that? Like at 8 o'clock at night somewhere? You know what I mean? You're not. So,
right.
And a club's not going to have that. So, but yeah, we kind of like think of ourselves as kind of maximum wave instead of minimal wave. We're kind of, but there is some tracking with this new record, but not a crazy amount. But we want to go to Europe next year, or the following year. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. I have low hopes for next year, but
right.
But yeah, we can't. I looked into it once, and it was like $4,000 to ship our gear over. Right? Like, I can't. I can't. I can't. We're not that kind of. We're not that. we're not at that level where we're just like, you know,
Right. I think
full of gear shipped over to Europe.
I think you benefit too because like you're a very physical synth player, if that makes any sense. Like you play with your whole body. You don't just stand there coolly in the corner hitting the keys. Like you play. Like so I think that physicality helps you a bit, like particularly if you are minimizing your rig, if you're reducing your footprint a bit. The fact that you have this certain style, I think sort of lends itself to that. You can adapt.
That. I mean, I'm definitely old school. Like I grew up, going to punk rock, hardcore, and like alternative shows, and like those people rock. You know what I mean? Like we definitely have a rock aesthetic to our thing, and it's like that's one thing that like for me, it's like if you notice on this album, like they're kind of concise tracks because I'm not, and it's just me, but I've never been like a techno guy. I've never been like a 17-minute. I want a verse, chorus, a bridge.
Yeah.
Maybe a breakdown into the chorus out. Like I want like that kind of like pop sensibility in terms of like songwriting, because like melody is what I've always kind of attached myself to. Like when I was growing up, like all the bands that I liked, all the punk bands that I liked were very melodic. Some of them were crazy, but like for the most part, the ones I really attached myself to were like melodic sort of bands, like really good songwriting. You know what I mean? And I feel like to me that's important. Like having like chord structures and like chord progressions that make sense, and like you know what I mean? Like, and there's nothing wrong. Don't get me wrong. There's bands out there that are brutal. That play like awful, like awesome, like Panther Modern and stuff like that, like bands that are just, it's so good. You know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of that like pulsating, but it's not what I enjoy writing. You know what I mean?
I follow. Yeah. When we look at the new songs, you've got the singles, Rattle in Your Chest, One Spark, Silent Sailor. Does any one of those more speak to you more than the other at the moment? Like, if we're trying to capture a little bit about what you're saying, and insofar as the songs that we can hear on Bandcamp right now.
Yeah. Well, like I said, a lot of these songs are a lot more personal.
Yeah.
Even One Spark is, even though it seems kind of general, because our whole ethos has been to make an impact. Like, take what we do and do something positive with it. And the whole point of that song, I did have a couple things I wanted to accomplish with this album, and one of them was I want a song that's just kind of like a sing-along, that has a real positive message and is a sing-along. And that's what One Spark is about. It's about like big change doesn't come from giant movement. It comes from individual people, right? And these are the people. Like if you look at movements throughout history, it's always individual people that make the difference. And I think I think people lose sight of that. You know what I mean? And it's like the little, I saw Howard Zinn speak once, and he was talking about the people's history of the United States, and he talked about how he was really funny and cavalier about everything, which I thought was really surprising. But one thing he said, he goes, don't try to fix everything. Just do what you can. You know what I mean? And what I took away from that was like, you don't have to take on the world's problems. You can make your, if everyone did their part, that's what makes movements. That's what makes impact. That's what makes change. That's what affects people's lives. And that's why we've always tried to do like things for charity. And we always, bring people into the fold with that, because it's not about us.
Yeah.
And that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, but like, it's not personal, but do your part, make a difference, and that can be volunteering one weekend of your time sometime. It could be donating money to something. It could be just trying to get other people to support something. You know what I mean? Like just in these little ways, people can make an impact, and that's what that song is about. You know,
That's the whole philosophy behind Working Order Records, you know, and the fact that the show that you're doing on Saturday benefits. Sorry, I have a dog here. So that's the whole philosophy behind Working Order Records, and the fact that the show on Saturday is benefiting Community of Hope. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, you know, we started Working Order Records because, you know, we're a square peg, right? In a lot of ways, you know, and we feel, you know, we have very, you know, I work for universities and I work for nonprofits and stuff, and I've always had this, like, you know, ideology of like being part of the solution, not the problem. And we just saw an opportunity to do something positive, you know, like I don't think I feel, you know, and like I said, I don't say this in that people misunderstand what I say sometimes. Artists need to get paid. Let's just make that really clear. We pay every artist we work with. Nick Fancher, we paid his rate. The artist who did the artwork for our previous record, we licensed it from her at her rate. Like, I believe in valuing people's artwork. But for us, it's more important to have to do something positive with that than to have some more money in my pocket. You know, we're in a situation where you know, I don't need this to pay my bills. So I you know, and also, like, we didn't really fit, you know, the record labels we were talking to on the first record, it became really apparent that, like, any label that would sign us, we could do it ourselves. You know, anything they could do for us, we could do for ourselves. And labels that wouldn't sign us, that could do something huge for us, weren't going to sign us, because, you know, we're not going to go on tour for 6 months. We're not going to, you know, we just can't do that at the moment. You know, I mean, we're just not. That's not the you know, we can go on tour, but we can't. You know, some of these labels want you to go on tour constantly. You know, and we just can't do that. You know, so, and I also didn't want to wait, and it's just, you know, I had a really poignant conversation with Mike T from Alter de Ruin. And he was, you know, we were talking about this. I was like, and he actually was like, "Wouldn't it be great just to give money to charity?" And I was just like, And then I was like, you know what? Let's just take it a step further and make a nonprofit, you know, and make it legit, you know. And that was kind of the whole. That's how it all snowballed, you know. And then we launched it, and, you know, I will say this though, you know, there's been a lot of people that said, "Oh, I want you to do another Tiny Cat and this and that," and on a personal level, I was tapped out. I'm being honest. Like, I was doing my DJ nights, I was doing the band as much as possible. I was running this record label and working on this festival. And then I found out that it was like, while it's fulfilling, like, I wasn't able to do what I love, which is create. I wasn't able to be, you know, focused on music because I had too many things going on. I had too many things happening, you know? So I had to step back from all that and then just be like, okay, what's important to me right now? And what's important to me right now is I want to write a new album and this and that. So, like, you know, you can work yourself to death. You know, if anything, I will say this, one thing that's really positive about this pandemic, you know, obviously it's tragic. I mean, not, but one thing that's positive that's come out of it is, like, perspective. You know, like, I kind of saw that the trajectory I was on personally was kind of unsustainable. You know what I mean? And it's like, I feel like the world kind of taking a breath and affording me to take a breath and kind of think about things, and, like, has been positive. So.
I feel a bit of the same, you know, in that slowing down, I've been focusing more on home rather than trying to get out of the home, which, you know, I used to do a lot. So I hear loud and clear there. On Saturday, people watch the show. They can watch it for free on Twitch, but you're encouraging them to donate to the cause.
Yeah, I mean, of course. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you'd pay for a show. We, you know, like you to pay or donate. And obviously, like, the pre-order for our record and all the working order record merch that we have through Sunday, all that money is going to the charity. So, you can get involved however you want. That's the reason that I like the model for working order records is that I mean, I see it as like it's allowing people to get involved with us. We're not doing it ourselves. Like when you buy our record for this, cool. I want you to buy my record. I want you to support my music, but also like feel good that this is a donation.
Yeah.
You're actually donating to this charity for a record. And I think that's kind of cool.
Falling further north in a dream, I took your hand. The constant stars, Polaris chain, she moves and breathes, remains unchanged, fixed and firm, here on earth, pinned to land. In constant heart, love is fate.